Surprise!
I was going through Steam and I was trying to find new games despite me having over 100 games to choose from, and I just so happened to stumble upon this game that looked a blend between Blasphemous and Kingdom Come 2 Crowns, and knowing me being a sucker for pixel art, I just had to check it out and see what it was about. The game in question is called Necrofugitive, and according to the game overview on Steam, is a 2D stealth action game about an evil shapeshifter on the run from justice. Survive a world forged with medieval history, with merciless pursuers daring escapes, and an ancient mystery driving your every move. And that pretty much sold me, so, you know, I just downloaded the demo and just started playing. Now, I am going to talk about the story because it's very interesting, but my dumbass didn't even realize there was a description past the overview, so I played the game first, and like I was thinking of all these theories. I was like, oh well, these guys could be like, you know, secretly the villains and I could be the hero or anything, but no. I just had to scroll down after I did the gameplay footage to try figure out what the lore is, just to find out that the entire thing is just like written out. I thought it was gonna be like Project Landsword, where it was just like every mission there was like little bits and pieces and we can just kind of put them together, but I'm still gonna put the story together and try put things together because I didn't know this, but I just had a quick look on YouTube and this game's been out for like 4 years, as in like I think it was a pre-alpha, but then had a Pokemon evolution and turned into a beta. Anyway, according to what's on Steam right now, you are a shape-shifting cultist of Skorozo, the eldritch god of chaos, following the brutal massacre of your kin in a witching hunt frenzy. You stand alone, as all of Skorozo's followers lie dead, captured, or missing. Severely weakened and hopelessly outnumbered, you are the wrathful deity's last hope of claiming vengeance. With an entire kingdom mobilized to bring your rampage to an end, you must explore, hide, and fight through a medieval world on the brink of collapse as famine, pestilence, and warfare rage across Avencia. Blessed by the eldritch powers of your vengeful gods, you can bring the downfall of the realms of men. It does also mention, curiously, like further down in that kind of paragraph, it says here that takes place in a medieval world rife with unrest, civil war, and suspension, with multiple factions fighting for control over the kingdom of Avencia. And just also says that like you have a big bounty on your head that anyone that sees you is basically just gonna go after you, which fair enough. I am really curious though, because it does mention civil war and the fact that multiple factions are fighting one another. You wonder if that just means like you can watch them all fight each other and pick them off one by one, or if it means another thing, because during the game there's like this one section where you fight this like lady person with like a red hood. She's actually a really difficult enemy, but she has like a sword and a crossbow. If you transmute into her or assimilate her and then transform into her, the guards just attack you on sight. So could that just be what the Civil War is about? Just if you transform into one of those like brief factions, they'll just attack you anyway. I don't know whether or not that's a bug or if that's part of the game, because the little icon that indicates what you're transformed to doesn't really like show. It doesn't really say that you're anyone, it just says you're you, but you have a new move set and everything, so it could be a bug because it's a beta, but it could be that Civil War that they're mentioning. And that's basically it for the story for the most part. I did say that it was like a whole thing, but I did realize that a good small portion of it was just the story, then the rest was just talking about the gameplay. And like Project Landsword, it's basically gonna probably change. They did say on their own website or on the thing here, the demo is a early prototype meant to showcase and receive feedback and gameplay concept, so it's but not exactly the finished product. But you know, I still want to pose some questions and like have some little headcanon theories that I can think of. I think the first and more kind of significant one would be about the main character, the shapeshifter. I'll just call him that. The shapeshifter is just an emaciated man that can shapeshift into whatever he can get his grubby little tentacle things onto. It's a really cool concept, actually, the fact that like he can assimilate, so he can, when he kills someone, there's an option to consume them in exchange for like armor and the meter going up. We'll get into that later as well, but the fact that he is this weakened and emaciated and he's able to do like basically what you see in the game is pretty insane, which kind of begs the question of like if there were a bunch of them, like how powerful were they, and how much destruction did they cause beforehand? I'm guessing not a whole lot, because if they slaughtered like a lot of them, they like the story mentioned like a whole massacre. These guys had to have been like just worshippers with no powers whatsoever for them to just be kind of rounded up and just like killed, I guess. But having this one specifically, this one guy as like the last kind of beacon of this baseboard of a god deity thing, I'm guessing he's also just bestowed all the powers that he could possibly give to his last subject in order for him to do that. Seeing as how all the abilities that the shapeshifter can probably get, like all of them being flesh-based, and I mean even you consuming people, like spawns like little tendrils from the ground and like just snatches them away, I guess. Maybe it just sucks them dry, who knows. But seeing as how it's very flesh-based, I'm guessing the cult or the religion that this guy was following is most likely something to do with like sacrificing. I mean, it's looking at him, it's pretty obvious. Another interesting thing that I've noticed is that the prisoner is blind, and I mean I mean looking at him, yeah, he very much is, but like really interestingly though, like his eyes are what looks to be gouged out. I mean, I'm no medical expert, but it looks pretty unintentional to me. And what's significant about that is that, like, you know, people would have their eyes removed, well, obviously to disable them, because seeing is pretty important, but particularly that so that they couldn't start any rebellions or wars during like the Middle Ages, and also stopping them from ruling, because, you know, you kind of need eyes and you need a pretty face to lead. But yeah, no, I'm just doing a quick Google search, and it just says here as well, like, punishment for treason, political incapitation. I don't know how to fucking say that word. Hang on, let me see how you say that word. Incapacitation. There you go. Figured it out at the end. But yeah, no, political incapacitation. Yeah! You know what I mean. Which could have just meant that this cult could have had some political power somehow. And, you know, people were just, well, people higher up than them anyway were trying to silence them by just murdering everyone. Moving on, and this kind of like speculation that I have is far less in depth than the previous thing that I just spouted out of nowhere. And that's just the red hooded assassins that, well, assassin that comes after you. It's just more of a question of like, who is she? Or like, well, who was she? What order is this? Is this another nation? Because this whole, if you transmute into this person, all the guards just attack you. Like I said, I don't know if this is a bug. I don't know if like this is another enemy faction to the people that you're fighting, but yeah, they just attack you, which I think's pretty, you know, thing, because like you encounter this assassin in a private room. Okay, not like that. Okay, no, not like that. It's like it looks like a hall, like a what's the word? Like a speaking chamber kind of thing, you know? One of those. You'll see her shadow kind of like move across, and then she'll jump down, and you'll have like a mini boss fight, unless you open the door, and then it becomes just yeah, you just die basically. But the fact that they attack her if you transform into her, because usually you can just kind of like walk past the other kind of enemies if you're disguised as them, but for her it's different. But are these like assassins sent by a higher thing, or are they just bounty hunters that follow an order of the Red Hood or whatever? That sounds a lot more cinematic than I wanted to. I was just trying to emphasize that they all wore, or by the looks of it anyway, they all wear red hoods. I guess my last quick speculation is, who is Big and Greedy? And to give you a bit of context, Big and Greedy is the, I don't want to butcher whatever this creature could be, so I'm not gonna do a bipedal moment. Just a bipedal. But once you consume enough bodies, you have the opportunity to turn into Big and Greedy himself, by just holding tab or control, whatever button you need to click on a controller, I don't know. But once you do, you're basically unkillable. You're really hard to kill anyway. You're not unkillable, but you're really hard to kill. You're a moving tank and barely anything can stop you, and you basically need to turn into big and greedy in order to break down the gates that separate each level. But the speculation for me would be like, what exactly is big and greedy? Because big and greedy to me just seems like not a reincarnation, but more of a kind of aspect of the eldritch horror. I mean, considering we're the only ones that are still kind of worshipping the eldritch horror, I mean, like, that could literally just be the eldritch horror itself, and like it could be just in a weakened state because there's no one else left to worship it. It could kind of work like the more people worship it, the more powerful it gets, and considering we're the only ones that kind of just remember it, that's what it is. Well, I wouldn't say former glory because he's still big and greedy and wants to like just eat everyone. So aside from me trying to revive MatPat through really crappily designed theories and speculating about a very short story, the gameplay itself is actually really interesting. I mean, it has really cool idea. The art style is pretty cool. The fact that you need to murder and like consume people in order to satiate big and greedy, because you do really need big and greedy, especially if like one of the archers manages to like scurry to the bell and ring it. You definitely need him to get you out of there in a pinch, because you can't really stealth your way out of it. But I do love how it's a bit like those games where it's like you can kind of pick and choose how you go about it. I was just kind of being a dumbass and just kind of went in guns blazing, but I've seen like on the trailer for it that you can literally just walk past like quite a few of them by murdering like not like a very few amount of people just so you can get their kind of like image to run around with. It's basically the equivalent of playing the spy with the your eternal reward, and just kind of like working your way from spawn and making your way back to your kind of respawn area to collect, you know, the locker, the resupply locker. But I do find it really cool that after consuming someone, you get their movesets. It can go from like the bowman, I think the swordman, the halberd guy, all the way up to like a knight. If you kill a knight, you can take his form and just like use his moveset and everything, which is like, it's pretty cool. But like, you just need to be careful, because sometimes if you click like the dash button or like the attack button, or not the attack button, but if you click another button other than the dash button, like you can just untransform right in front of everyone and then just systematically get slaughtered. But you usually could fight off like quite a few of them unless there were like multiple knights, which hasn't actually happened in the demo, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens with the actual game. I just need to like make a quick note, actually. The fact that like you start this game with a warning saying that this game isn't gonna be like the cherry picking fun loving game. I don't know, I just find it kind of cool that like they managed to put that in as like a, before you even touch the game, this is not gonna be easy. Though I do think they should do it like a rogue. They should have it like a roguelike game, so like every time you die you start all the way back at the beginning, because it's like every time you die you just go back to the beginning of the level that you entered. So like it's difficult in some areas, but like once you figure out most of their movesets, then it's pretty easy. But aside from that though, I think the stealth mechanic is pretty fun. You like snuff out the lights, which I didn't do, but assuming when it's dark you can snuff out the lights and people will have a hard time seeing you, and probably like I think their detection range also shrinks quite a bit, so they won't genuinely see you unless like you're breathing right in front of them. I do think though that like, because they have a suspicion meter, especially if you're disguised as one of them in like broad daylight, it goes up like quite a bit. But I think you should be able to like interact with them, just have like a quick like talk, and then like a talk button, sorry, and then just kind of like see if you can like get information out of them, or like kind of increase the increase the suspicion bar quite a bit. But yeah, no, I'm keeping it short and sweet though. I think like it's a really, really cool game, but it just needs to be fleshed out quite a bit, because it's like, ugh. It's a rough around the edges, and I literally have like not much to talk about because there's nothing really there. Like, keep in mind this is a beta, and like none of this is probably gonna, like it's not the final product obviously, and but like it would be kind of nice to just kind of like have and see what I could do with it. But yeah, no. Check out the game. It's on Steam, and itch.io. So yeah, see ya.